Your business is invisible and you are losing money every time someone lands on your page. You have exactly 5 seconds to prove you are the solution to their biggest problem before they click away forever. If your messaging is buried in corporate fluff, you are practically begging your client to choose the competition. Let me explain something that completely changed how I see business and communication. When someone lands on your page, they are not exploring your brand, they are not considering your offer, they are judging instantly whether it makes sense to stay or leave. And that judgment happens way faster than most people think. In neuroscience, there's something called cognitive load theory. It basically says this: the brain avoids effort whenever possible. Not because people are lazy, but because the brain is always trying to conserve energy. So when something feels unclear or requires too much thinking, the brain does something very simple. It disengages. Not emotionally, not logically, automatically. Now, here is where it gets interesting. There is also a system in your brain called the amygdala, which is constantly scanning for uncertainty or confusion. And when it detects ambiguity, something unclear, something it can't quickly categorize, it triggers a subtle avoidance response. Not fear like in movies, just a micro decision. This is not worth my attention right now. And that's the part most businesses never see, because you don't see people thinking about your brand and rejecting it. You see silence. No clicks, no message, no engagement, but neurologically a decision was made. And there is another layer to this. Research in attention studies shows that the average person decides whether content is relevant in just 3 to 5 seconds. Not because they fully understand it, but because the brain uses shortcuts called cognitive heuristics, simple pattern recognition. Do I recognize this? Do I understand this fast? Does this feel relevant to me right now? If the answer is no, the brain doesn't negotiate, it exits. And here is something I find interesting. We think people are carefully evaluating business online, but in reality, most digital decisions are closer to instinct than analysis. It's almost like a reflex. You open something, it either clicks in your mind or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you are gone before you even realize it. Now, I want you to reflect on something for a second. How many people have visited your business today and made a decision about you without you ever knowing they were there? No feedback, no explanation, just a silent no. And the truth is that no often has nothing to do with your quality. It has to do with how fast your value is understood, because in the digital world, clarity is not about being better. It is about being recognized faster than confusion has time to form. Because most businesses don't fail at communicating because they don't know what they do. They fail because they are learned how to talk about in a way that nobody else understands. And I want to be very honest here. We all do this at some point. We start adding words that sound more professional, more strategic, more high level. And slowly, without noticing, we stop sounding human. We start sounding like we're applying for funding instead of talking to another person. You have probably seen this before. We provide innovative, scalable, end-to-end solutions. And the funny thing is, no human has ever woken up in the morning thinking, I need an end-to-end scalable solution today. That's not how life works. People wake up thinking, I need more clients, I need more sales, I need help figuring this out. simple thoughts, human thoughts. And here is a point most people miss. Every extra layer of complexity in your message doesn't make you look smarter. It just creates more distance between you and the person you are trying to reach. It's like trying to have a conversation through a wall, and you can talk all you want, but the signal is getting weak every second. It is kind of weird, right? There's actually something interesting in psychology called processing fluency. It basically means the easier something is to understand, the more we trust it. Not because it's true, but because it feels familiar, and the brain equates familiarity with safety. So when your message is clear, simple, and direct, people don't just understand you faster. They feel more comfortable with you. And comfort is what allows trust to form. But when your message is complicated, something happens in the opposite direction. The brain starts to work harder. And when the brain works harder, it doesn't think. This must be valuable. It thinks. This feels like effort. I'll come back later. And later usually means never. Sometimes we hide behind complex language because it makes us feel more legitimate. Like if it sounds advanced, it must be valuable. But in reality, clarity is the real authority. Because anyone can confuse people, anyone. Very few can make something complex feel obvious. And this is where most businesses unknowingly lose attention. Not because their offer is weak, but because their explanation requires too much mental translation. And in a world where attention is constantly competing, translating equals friction, and friction kills interest. Let me give you a simple example. One version sounds like this. We optimize strategic systems to enhance customer acquisition pipelines. And the other sounds like this. We help you get more clients. Same intent, completely different outcome. Because one forces thinking and the other creates immediate understanding. The clearer you are, the less you feel like you need to explain. And the more you try to explain, the more unclear you usually became. So I want you to sit with this for a second. If someone landed on your page right now, will they understand what you do without effort? Or are they silently doing mental math just to figure you out? Because in most cases, that confusion is not being spoken, it's being acted on by living. So, if confusion is what kills attention, then clarity is what keeps someone alive inside your message. But here's the part most people misunderstand. Clarity is not about saying less words. It is about removing anything that forces the other person to think too much before they understand you. And that is harder than it sounds, because most of us don't realize how complicated we've made our own message. We're too close to it. We know the process, the effort, the behind the scenes. So we accidentally include all of that when we explain it. But the client doesn't need your process. They need to know if you solve or not the problem. Let me give you a simple filter I want you to use. If someone only has 5 seconds of attention, what would you want them to understand about you? Not your story, not your journey, not your system, just this. What do you do and why should I care? Most businesses actually can answer that in a simple sentence. Not because they don't have value, but because they've never forced themselves to compress it into clarity. And compression is where clarity is born. There is a simple exercise I've used that forces this. Imagine you have to explain your business to someone who has no context, no industry knowledge, no patience, and 10 seconds of attention. If they don't understand it instantly, you don't simplify more later. You have already lost them. And the goal is not to sound smart. It's to make understanding effortless. Because when something is easy to understand, it feels more trustworthy. And when something feels trustworthy, people lean instead of leaving. Now, here's the key. Stop describing your process. Start describing the outcome. Let me tell you again. Stop describing your process and start describing the outcome. Know what you do behind the scenes, but what changes for the person after they work with you. Because people don't buy your method. They buy the version of themselves after the transformation. But let me say that again in a simple way. They don't care how you cook the meal. They care if they are hungry and if you can feed them. And when you apply that, your message becomes instantly lighter, clearer, more direct, and most importantly, more understandable in those first seconds that decide everything. So now I want you to reflect on this. If someone had to explain your business to a friend after seeing you for 5 seconds, will they get it right? Or will they hesitate and guess? Because hesitation means confusion, and confusion means invisibility. Now here's something that people completely ignore. Because we tend to think our message is only about words. But in reality, your message is also visual. And the brain doesn't separate those two things. It processes everything at once. When someone lands on your page, they are not just reading, they are scanning fast like a pattern detector, trying to answer one simple question. Does it feel clear or does this feel like effort? And here's where things get interesting. Even before someone reads a single sentence, they've already formed an impression of your business based on spacing, structure, density, simplicity, visual noise. All of that is communication. There is something called cognitive fluency. Again, but applied visually. The brain trusts what feels easy to process. So when something looks clean, organized, and simple, it creates a sense of ease before understanding even happens. But when a page is cluttered, too much text, too many elements, too many competing messages, the brain does something very simple. It delays trust. Not because it dislikes you, but because it doesn't know where to start. And uncertainty always slows down decision making. Now, let me make this very practical. Think about the difference between these two experiences. One page feels like walking into a clean, well-lit room. Everything is clear. You know where to look, you feel calm. The other feels like walking into a room where everything is talking at once. Your brain doesn't know what matters first, so it chooses nothing, it leaves. And this is where most businesses lose people without even realizing it. They think, I just need better copy, but in reality, the structure is already killing the message before the words even have a chance. Now, here's something important. Your visual structure is silently answering questions like, is this simple or complicated? Is this organized or chaotic? Is this for me or not for me? And people don't consciously analyze these questions. They just feel the answer. Confusion is not only linguistic. Confusion is also visuals overload. So even if your message is strong, if your presentation feels heavy, your clarity gets diluted. Let me give you a simple comparison, a clean message with simple structure. One idea, one direction, one focus, versus a cluttered message trying to explain everything at once. One creates movement, the other creates hesitation. And hesitation is expensive because in the digital world, hesitation is the same as living. So I want you to think about something right now. If someone landed on your content without knowing you, would their eyes know where to go first, or would everything feels like competing for attention? Because your structure is either guiding attention or scattering it. There is no neutral. And this is why clarity is not just what you say. It is how quickly someone can make sense of what they are seeing. So let's bring this all together, because understanding the problem is not enough. At some point, you have to test reality, not theory, not attention, not intention, reality. Here's something very simple you can do right now. Take your website, your Instagram, your landing page, your offer, whatever represents your business, and show it to someone who has never seen it before. Just for 5 seconds. No explanation, no context, just let them look. After 5 seconds, ask this question. What do you think I do? Just listen. If their answer is not clear, it's not their fault. It means your message didn't land. And this is where most businesses get stuck, because instead of fixing clarity, they assume they need more marketing, more ads, more content, more effort. But if the message is unclear, all of that just amplifies confusion. Now, here is the real power of the exercise. It forces alignment between what you think you are saying and what people are actually receiving. And those two things are often very different. And once you see that gap, you can't ignore it anymore. Because now you know, it's not about working harder, it's about being understood faster. And when you fix that, everything else becomes easier. Content becomes clearer, marketing becomes simpler, clients start recognizing you faster, because you're no longer forcing people to figure you out. You are just being understood. So if there's one thing I want you to take from this, is people don't understand you in the first few seconds, they are not going to stay for the explanation. Clarity is not something you add later. It's something that has to exist immediately. So there's something I want you to take from this. If people don't understand you in the first few seconds, they are not going to stay for the explanation. Clarity is not something you add later. It's something that has to exist immediately. And I'll keep building on this idea in future videos, because once you understand how attention actually works, you stop guessing and you start communicating in a way people can't ignore. If this resonates with you, if you are a business owner, if you're looking to improve your marketing, please consider to subscribe to this channel. I'll be sharing more ideas like this about how to make your message clear, your business more understood, and your content actually connect with people you want to reach. And if you're building something yourself, you are going to want to stay close to this.